On today's show, let's talk about how the Mavs need a guard. I got some ideas on how to get them one, but I also think there's a case that they don't have to make a trade. I'll tell you why in today's Locked On Mavs. One more thing.
I'm here because I have to.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
It's me versus the machine.
Nice penetrating thrust to the middle.
People forget about him.
Hot man, the hot player.
Wait. One more thing.
Yeah. It's the one more thing. Welcome to Locked On Mavs, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being in every day. Making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day as we do this, go through the offseason. Sunday, if you think the start of the week is Sunday, then this is the week Cooper Flagg becomes a Maverick. Congrats on making it there. Today's episode, I want to talk about the case that the Mavs don't need to make a trade for a guard. There is a case to be made that the Mavs don't need to go out and make some big trade or give away some pieces and keep all their rotation players and still wind up with a guard. So I'll give some examples about that. But then I also want to talk about why they do need to make a move for a guard. I think there's both sides to it. I think they could be okay either way. And so let's start with this. I want to get into some trade ideas, and I have a couple here. I have a bunch here because I think the case that the Mavs need to make a trade for a guard, and that's kind of what I'm doing today, is I'm going to go through both sides of the case. I'm going to play attorney and I'm going to play prosecutor and defense here with both of these things because I think there's a lot of Mavericks fans. Every Mavericks fan agrees that the Mavs need another guard. We agreed with that back when the AD trade was made. That all right, if this team is going to move forward, if they're going to do anything big, they need to get another guard. Now with Dante Exum and Spencer Dinwiddie gone and Kyrie Irving going to be out, the Mavs definitely need another guard. The reason to trade for a guard and to make a bigger move where you actually give a rotation player up, maybe even a first-round pick, gasp, is the Mavs are going to make no kind of playoff run unless they have another creator. You just look at all the guys and all the teams out there that have made some kind of run right now. You look at the Pacers with Halliburton and Nembhard. You look at even the Thunder with SGA and Jalen Williams making plays. Jalen Williams is really good in the pick and roll. And you look at all the other teams that made moves, in the playoffs. I mean, they all had multiple playmakers. You got to have multiple guys that can handle the ball, that can do things. And I'll talk about why the Mavs may be okay in a regular season concept because of the players that they have right now. But I think in a playoff concept, like who are you really trusting to dribble the ball, handle the ball in tight situations, in tough situations that other teams are seeing themselves in right now? You look at how tough it is to dribble against the Thunder, against the Pacers defense right now, against the Rockets defense in the playoffs, like the Timberwolves defense. Like it is just very difficult for some of these teams to find guys that they trust to take the ball even over the half-court line. The Mavs at times were giving the ball to P.J. Washington, giving it to Derrick Jones Jr. in the playoffs in the past, and they're like, all right, you bring the ball up and then our guards. But when push came to shove, you had a generational superstar and you had a legend in Kyrie Irving handling the ball for you. And to go anywhere in the playoffs, I think they're going to need to get a guard. I think we've talked about that enough. If you listen to the show at all, you know that that's something that we believe. I also think the Mavs do have some roster redundancy. Like we've been talking about rotation a little bit and trying to figure out, all right, well, they have three centers in Anthony Davis, Lively, and Gafford. AD can play some four, obviously, but then you have AD, PJ, Naji, and Cooper Flagg playing the four. So you have redundancy at both of those positions, plus add the wing. These are all the players I think could play wing for the Mavericks and be in the rotation legitimately. P.J. Washington, Cooper Flagg, Naji Marshall, Caleb Martin, Klay Thompson, Max Christie. That's six. 6 wings. There's 2 forward spots, and one of them is going to be taken up a lot by Anthony Davis, PJ, and Flagg. Like that's probably all the 4 minutes if everybody's healthy. So there's obviously another guard spot. Klay can play some guard. Martin probably can. Christie probably can. Like these guys are versatile in a way. And I know I get too wrapped up in some of the positional terms sometimes, but they have some redundancy. They do have some players that if you lose a wing player, if you lose a center, you would be okay, and you would make it for sure. And so that's my case that they need to make some kind of move. If they want to move forward at all, if they want to make some kind of big run in the playoffs, they're going to want, and you're going to look back and go, man, they just need that other player to get them there. And so let's go over some of the trades. We talked about Coby White a lot because I think he's just the perfect guy to come in. He's 6'5", he can create his own shot. He can score. He can create for others a little bit, and he'll play with Kyrie or he can play without Kyrie for sure. And you want that extra shooting. You want that extra ball handling. And so a couple trades for Coby White. The Gafford for Coby White trade, if the Bulls are into it, if they really want a Gafford, if they're looking at Vucevic and they're going, man, that's not really our center. We've got our playmaker. We need a pick and roll guy that can really take advantage of some defenses. We've got Josh Giddey. We've got Lonzo Ball, who we feel good about. I think trading a Coby White says everything you need to know about what the Bulls would think about a Giddey and a Lonzo Ball. Because if you have Giddey, Ball, and Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu, that is a good guard rotation, I think. And I would probably keep it if I was the Bulls. But maybe they go, all right, well, we're feeling good about this. We want to lean into this new era. Maybe they take a guard in the draft too. Coby White's a free agent, which is why we've talked about him a lot. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of next season. And so Coby White for Gafford, straight up. It works. The Bulls would take back $1.4 million more in their cap, and so that's something they may not want to do. And so here's one that I think that we haven't really talked about. What if the Mavs go, all right, we'll give you Gafford and we'll give you Hardy. Maybe the Bulls are higher on Hardy. And they say, oh, there's a cost-controlled guy for a couple years, and we think that we can get the best out of him. Look what we did with Coby White and his development. We think we can get that out of Hardy too. For Coby White and Javon Carter. Javon Carter is this interesting case, and if you ever listen to Locked On Bulls, they make lots of jokes about Javon Carter. He has not been very playable for that team. And so he's kind of dead money sitting on their books right now. It is an expiring contract. It's 1 year, $6.8 million. But $6.8 million is not nothing. And they're not really using him. And so you make that trade. You get, you take off their kind of dead, quote unquote, dead money with Javon Carter. Give them Jaden Hardy too. And that's within $1 million right there. And I think it's like $600,000 or something like that. And so that one could make sense too if they want to switch that and bet on Jaden Hardy if they decide they want to do that too. But that's sort of what the trade is. And I started to look at these and I go, man, there was a trade that came up recently involving Coby White. And I was talking to Hayes of Locked On Bulls about this. The Magic apparently offered Cole Anthony and Jonathan Isaac plus the 16th pick for Coby White. And then there was another trade where apparently they offered 2 picks for Coby White. So I think if you're making either of those trades, I don't think the Gafford for Coby White one is going to go off completely. I think the Mavs would have to put in a first-round pick for that. And the case to be made that they should do that is because you're making a long-term play on Coby White. You're looking at him going, all right, we think that even past the AD Kyrie era, you could still be on this team, fit really well with Cooper Flagg, add that shooting around him, be even better. There's been times he's looked like a fringe all-star, honestly, with Coby White. It's kind of, it is wild if you think about the way that he's played the last couple of years and how much better he's gotten and all that. And so maybe that's a bet that they make and they go, well, let's make an investment on the future in this. And they would have to sign him. They would have to make sure that they got him signed. And then if you do send Gafford, then you're probably signing PJ Washington too. So do you feel good about a Coby White, Cooper Flagg, PJ Washington lineup for a while? I think I would. Couple other trades. Let's get into those coming up because I've got some other trades that I think the Mavs could make that would solve their problem. And you may have to give up a rotation player here or there. You may have to give up a pick, but I think it would help this issue. We'll do that and more coming up. Today's Locked On Mavs, the one more thing, is brought to you by Car Guru. CarGuru.com is there for you when you are trying to figure out how to buy a car. And there's so many options all over the place. Shopping for a car should be exciting. But it's exhausting. I've done it. I've gone through it. Between confusing prices, hidden fees, it can be overwhelming. That's why we love Car Guru. They help you cut through the noise, show you the best deals with full confidence. They have over 4 million listings. 4 million listings. That's so many. They also have this feature called Price Drop Alerts. You know exactly when the perfect car that you want is available in your budget. You just turn that on, and then boom, it'll notify you when that price has dropped for that car. Plus, in-depth vehicle details gives you peace of mind before stepping into any lot, which is awesome. You want to know exactly what you're doing when you get there so you just get the feel of the car and don't have to worry about all the other details. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows CarGuru is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with CarGuru.com. CarGuru.com. CarGurus.com. CarGuru.com. Also, I want to tell you about Wayfair. They got just what you need. Wayfair is perfect for trying to spruce up, change your outdoor space, make it feel something different, make it feel like something you actually want to go out and be in right now. Comfortable, stylish, ready for summer, wherever you live, depending on where the weather is. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space as well as your indoor space. Outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, even the perfect string lights to set up the vibe and give your backyard the resort feel without the resort price. Fast, free, totally hassle-free shipping. I've done that myself. They have outdoor dining set, modern lounge chairs, things like that. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair. Enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com, Wayfair, wayfair.com. Every style, every home. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. It's the One More Thing, a bonus episode where we talk about extra things that we haven't gotten to. We've got a text line, 214-643-8637. Isaac did a Q&A on there today and all kinds of great stuff on there. And so check that out wherever you text from. I was going to say wherever you listen to podcasts, but wherever you text from, you get alerts straight to your phone. We send you every rumor we ever see and give you our thoughts right away and all that. So 214-643-8637. You can also get it. There's a link in the description wherever you're listening and watching this. All right, let's talk about some more trades. So I'm going through trades for the Mavs to get a guard. I talked about Coby White already. There's a couple. The Mavs could go and get a guard in the draft, which we've talked about a bunch. I did an episode with Rafael Barlow where I talked through some options. But at the Mavs, people are like, all right, how do they get a first? All right, well, here's some ideas for you. The Nets have 4 firsts. I don't think they're going to take 4 rookies into camp. And so I think one of those picks is moving at some point. Could they take Hardy and Omax? Would they be interested in betting on one of those guys or both of those guys and say, we'll bet on those guys instead of one of the first that we're going to take here? Would the Nets do that? Would they take Max Christie? Would you want to give up Max Christie? Would you want to give Max Christie up for more of a ball-handling guard in the draft? I don't think I would give up Max Christie for a first-round pick, but I think Max Christie would be worth a first-round pick if the Mavs were going to offer one to the Brooklyn Nets and say, hey, you want this guard? They can, play defense on a credible level. He can, hit an outside shot for sure. He can run a pick and roll every once in a while. You can do that with Max Christie. I would rather keep him if I'm the Mavericks, but I think they could, if they want to get a first-round pick somehow, they could offer him out for a first. You could also trade a future first for a first now and say, all right, we're gonna steal from ourselves in the future and get one right now. The Mavs own their 2026 pick. They have the Lakers pick in 2029. They have the Mavs pick in 2031. Again, those are things that I would not do. I don't think you can trade those future picks, especially 2026. You don't know how the season is going to go with Kyrie, with AD's injuries as well. With Cooper Flagg, you hope that he's good right away. I expect him to be, but this could be a season where at the end of the season, you go, oh my gosh, why do we trade that first-round pick in the future? But those are the picks that they could trade. So that's how they could get a first-round pick. I think they could also trade a Caleb Martin maybe, they could trade a PJ Washington or a Daniel Gafford for a first-round pick, probably. Naji Marshall, maybe. It depends on what the pick is. If it's a late first, probably. And then you're taking one of your roster redundancies and you're making it a guard. And so maybe you could do that and get somebody like an Igor Demin or a Nolan Traore, or if you're down a little bit farther, a Walter Clayton Jr. from Florida, Ben Seraph, Cam Jones. There's a couple other guards in this draft if you want to look at some of those. A trade that Slightly sent me actually recently. The Mavs would end up getting Mike Conley and the 17th pick. So you could get 2 guards. You could nail the whole thing right there. Boom, you get your vet guard and Mike Conley, and you get the 17th pick, where you could pick maybe Demin, maybe Nolan Traore, both guards in the draft that could go in that range. Here's the trade. Atlanta has this trade exception, and I think Mark Stein just wrote about this. Jake Fisher and Mark Stein just wrote about this. They have this trade exception, and the Mavs could just send Gafford to them. They kind of need a center. They're going to lose Clint Capella. They've got a Kongwu over there, and I don't know that they're really confident that he could play all their center minutes. And so Mavs trade Gafford to Atlanta for 22, create a trade exception, and Dallas also takes on Conley's deal from the Timberwolves, and they move up to 17. So it's all those assets kind of go in a circle. The Timberwolves get involved here, and the Mavs take Conley. They move up. They move up from 22 to 17. Then Mavs have 17 and Mike Conley for Gafford. It's like kind of a roundabout sort of way to get that done. That would be an interesting one to me for sure, especially if the Mavs don't think they can keep both PJ and Gafford. The word has been that they want to keep them, and so I'm going to give you a scenario where they do keep them. But that was an interesting one. There's also Colin Sexton. I saw this one today. Mavs get Colin Sexton, a 2025 first. It's number 22. They send out Jaden Hardy, and the 2027 pick from Cleveland gets sent, and then the 2029 first, the Mavs send the Lakers 2029 first to the Jazz, and the Hawks get Daniel Gafford. So the Mavs would get Colin Sexton from the Jazz. They'd also get a first-round pick. They'd get a first-round pick in this draft. So you're taking that first-round pick that the Mavs have, taking Jaden Hardy, paying yourself right now, and you're sending Daniel Gafford. I think I would do this one. Is that 2029 pick from the Lakers? What, that's a couple years from now. Is that one going to be so good? Are you looking at that one going, man, LeBron might be done. What is Luka going to do? Is he going to stay there? That pick could be really good. But you could also get 22 right now, get a guard, and also get Colin Sexton, and then maybe answer your guard problem right now. The Lonzo trades are kind of interesting. Caleb Martin or Naji on draft night, both of them make about the same money as Lonzo. You'd have to add something else to both of them to make the money work for the Mavs because they have to stay under the second apron. But either Caleb Martin or Naji Marshall, would you give them up for Lonzo Ball? You're taking a risk because Lonzo Ball did not play for like two years, for like 1,000 days or something like that, I think it was. And so you're making a risk there for sure. But if it works out, then Lonzo is the perfect player that could play next to Kyrie, would be the extra passer you need, extra shooter, extra defender that would be really good with all these other defenders. And so that's a big risk if the Mavs do that. So that's an interesting one. All right, here's the case the Mavs don't need to trade for a guard. I've waited too long to do this. For the regular season at least, and that's the case until Kyrie comes back, is the regular season. For the regular season, the Mavs have enough playmakers, I think. I think they can make it work. You've got another roster spot open. You got vet minimums, and you're probably going to have this $5.7 million tax mid-level exception if Kyrie signs the 3 years, $113 million deal that Bobby Marks has drawn up and says, all right, if he signs this one, it's a little bit lower than what he's making right now. Signed 3 years, $113. He makes $35 million next season. And then the Mavs would open up this $5.7 million tax mid-level exception. They could pay somebody that. That's more than the vet minimum. It would entice somebody to come in. So could they entice somebody like a Chris Paul, a D'Angelo Russell, a Russell Westbrook, a Tyus Jones, a Malcolm Brogdon, even a Trey Jones who just played for the Bulls? One of those guys plus the Mavs playmakers right now, or even two of those guys probably. And one of the Mavs playmakers right now, you think about the players on the roster. You got Brandon Williams already. Okay, we're feeling good about Brandon Williams stepping into a rotation spot, maybe even the starting spot to start the year. Cooper Flagg is a playmaker. They asked him to run a lot of pick and roll. It's something that you probably don't want to ask your number one pick, guy coming into a team that expects to win now, to bring him in and say, all right, you're going to run offense for us. You're the youngest guy on the team by 3 years. Got these veterans here that have won championships and Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis and you're like, all right, run the offense a bunch. Not every time down the court, but run the offense a bunch. I don't know that you want to ask him to do that right away, but I think you can because I think he's going to be good at it. I think he's going to do a lot for you. So you got Brandon Williams, you got Cooper Flagg. You're going to run offense through Anthony Davis, obviously. You've got Naji Marshall. He ran some point guard for you. He can run some offense. He can make some plays. Max Christie can do a little bit here and there. Klay Thompson could do a little bit here and there, and especially off screens, you could run plays for him where you don't need a point guard to have Klay Thompson run around some screens and make some things happen. PJ Washington has run some plays here and there. You can run some post-ups with him. You could do, he can handle the ball a little. And then Dereck Lively, you got him in the short role where, yeah, it takes a point guard to try and get him the ball, but if somebody gets synergy with him, if Cooper Flagg or somebody gets synergy with Dereck Lively, then all of a sudden, all you're asking the ball handler to do is, all right, run a pick and roll, maybe get doubled, but then give Lively the ball in the short roll, and then he makes the decision after that. Then he's the playmaker. And so you do have some options. It's not like the Mavs are going in. It's just not like the Mavs in 2022, where if they don't have Jalen Brunson or Luka, then they just don't have offense at all. Or they had Dinwiddie at the time. And you're like, it's Dinwiddie or nothing. That was it. There was nobody else. The Mavs wings were not playmakers. Their centers were not playmakers. Their centers barely existed. And so I think the Mavs do have a case that you could get two of those guys that I mentioned before, a Chris Paul, a D'Angelo Russell, Russell Westbrook, a Tyus Jones, a Malcolm Brogdon. All those guys have been, decent or good at times in their career and are going to be making less money this year than they have been in the past. Then maybe throw a Dante Exum, a Spencer Dinwiddie, even a Markelle Fultz, a Dennis Smith Jr. who the Mavs have worked out, maybe even, dare I say, a Ben Simmons, like on a vet minimum. Bring one of those guys on a vet minimum, get the other guys that I mentioned on the tax mid-level exception, and then you roll with those two guards, Brandon Williams, and then those playmakers I mentioned before, and you can make it. Like, you can make it work because Kyrie is going to come back. That's one thing we're expecting. And you don't borrow from yourself in the future to pay yourself now just to do some kind of short-term thing to try and get you through this season because the future is with Cooper Flagg, and you want to keep those future assets. And so that's the case to not make a trade right now. And I do think it is pretty strong. Let me know what you think in the comments on YouTube or the text line 214-643-8637. And shout out. I think this is my last day traveling, so I'll be back. And then I'm going to the draft this week. I'm very excited. I've never been. I'm excited to see what that's all about. And so, guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Check out the show. Slightly and Isaac will be here tomorrow talking all about the draft and all kinds of things. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out.